Yes, we are live without intro. Okay. Hi everybody and welcome to a
Hello.
new
Hello.
episode of Let's Talk About It. Hi Jale and Hassan, the man behind Arabic translated memes. And as you
Hello.
know, today we will talk about Rushdie affairs or the Satanic Verses incident which lasted in the last 33 years. You
And
know,
the fatwa against
yes,
Rushdie and the attack, of course.
and this topic is not only about the book or if the about if it is blasphemous or not, or importance of free speech in the West, or dangerous Islamic intolerance. But in the same time, I believe we will maybe talk about a little bit about what is wrong with the West,
Mhm.
what they didn't see when this happened in the 1989. And we've seen thousands of people in London, in Oslo, in every European countries, protesting and demanding a killing of an author of a novel. And even they didn't do something, but they said even, "Oh, come more from this religion, people
Mm.
just come in." So we will come there, but I will start with because I believe many people, especially young people, I don't know how young, I can say 30 years old people too, uh, uh, I don't believe they know actually what happened. you know uh, if I go back to the Valentine's Day in 1989, 14 February 1989, there, Radio Tehran come with a message. Ayatollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, come with a fatwa. Fatwa is like, they say an opinion, but it's not an opinion actually. It is like, I think Hassan will agree with me, maybe or not, I don't know, but
It is a
uh,
sentence.
it is also sentence. If you have the caliphate,
Mm.
fatwa is not just an opinion. Today they say, like in Turkey, when the religious affairs department says some things like fatwa, this have no meaning. This is an opinion only because it's not the Islamic State,
Yeah.
right? But when
Yeah.
it's Islamic State, when Caliph or the supreme leader says something like fatwa, this is like you say, it is like
The more
uh,
Sentence.
the more accurate is a decree. So it's
yeah,
like a king making a decree. It's like a command or a law.
come on, yeah, and what
That's
he
that's
said, yeah,
that's under Islamic law. A fatwa is a command or a decree which cannot be disputed in the lifetime of that person unless they remove it themselves. And that was probably one of the other challenges they had, is that Khomeini died without
right,
removing it. So
and
no
he took
one
with
can
him.
come, yeah, so no one can come after him and remove that. It's a decree by a supreme leader. So that's really where the word fatwa comes in that
Yeah,
context at least.
yes, and if you look what he said, really, I don't
Mhm.
know if Facebook or YouTube will allow me to read it, but I will try.
Yeah.
It's not a long thing. He said, "We are from Allah, and to Allah we shall return. I am informing all brave Muslims of the world that the author of the Satanic Verses, a text written, edited, and published against Islam."
Mm.
Okay, this is the one question. Okay, against Islam, this is a problematic. Okay, the Prophet of Islam and the Quran, along with all the editors and publishers aware of its contents, are condemned to death. I call on all valiant Muslims wherever they may be in the world to kill them without delay, so that no one will dare insult the sacred beliefs of Muslims henceforth. And
Yeah.
whoever is killed in this cause will be a martyr, Allah willing. Meanwhile, if someone has access to the author of the book but is incapable of carrying out the execution, he should inform the people so that Rushdie is punished for his actions.
Mm.
This is the most, I have never seen in my life. Like, I don't understand when the BBC um, translated this. There is a
Mm.
question, a leader of another country
Mhm.
coming with death sentences of citizens of another country because they write that some things is published again. This is against Islam. This
Yeah.
is like, what is wrong? Yes, why we will not, why we will not
Uh,
Oh,
Kam-
you froze, right? He's
yeah,
frozen.
Kemal has frozen. While
It's
he
because he's a he's a
blasphemer.
blasphemic. Yeah, that's why he's.
While we're waiting for him to come, maybe I can put some context to it as well. So it was in a short period after the Islamic Revolution, like within 10 years, and Khomeini was trying to establish himself not a leader of Shia Islam, but a leader of all Muslims around the world. And I was listening to this podcast with the Atheist Republic. What's his name now? I forgot his name.
Armin Navabi.
Armin Navabi. Yeah, I'm by the way very bad with names, so forgive me for missing his name. He was saying the same thing. He was saying Khomeini at the time was trying to establish himself. He looked at how other Arab leaders didn't do anything, didn't respond, and responded accordingly, as to say, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna show you how a leader does it. And that was part of his mission. At the time, he got lots of support from all Muslims, most also Sunni Muslims, that, oh, look at the leader of Iran taking a lead in this, showing how we should behave. And you can see, by the way, from the reaction to the attempted murder, is that this person was getting lots of support from all Muslims around the world, not Shia Muslim, who many Sunni, by the way, who would probably consider Shia Muslims as kuffar or not real Muslims and stuff, were in support of
The fatwa, yeah.
of the fatwa and this action. So it was a political game that Khomeini was trying to play at the time. Now, he mentioned something. Sorry, I got a call from Kamal here. Just let me just pick it up and see what's happened to him.
My phone is not here, so I cannot think. But I just want to say I do agree. I think it was a political move for him to be recognized as the ummah, as leader, as the whole Muslim population on earth, the leader of every Muslim, and this was of course a way to get internationally known. He was infamous worldwide. And but what I don't understand is the West, because the West first experienced Khomeini after 1979, coming to Iran, taking hostages,
Yeah.
taking American hostages, and then 10 years later, then starting, having a war with Iraq, and then the fatwa came.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
The West has to recognize already at that point that Khomeini and Iran is a huge problem, and they did. Now there is talks that because the West, the U.S. and the European Union are in talks with Iran about the nuclear arrangements and talks, that they have downplayed this attack against Rushdie because they don't want it to come in between them reaching an agreement with Iran. And it's a huge problem because, first of all, I think it's so important for the ordinary American, but also European, to know what the fatwa was about, because a lot of people, young people, they don't know. A lot of old people maybe have forgotten. But the fact that they're not even calling it terrorism in the United States, they're investigating it and prosecuting this attack as an attempt of murder, right?
Yep.
And this is a terrorist attack, and it's so important that both the media and the judicial system goes after this terrorist as a terrorist, because he's a terrorist.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if he actually gave an interview where he says, I do admire Khomeini, who gave this fatwa. I do admire the current leader of Iran, Khamenei, and I hate Salman Rushdie because he insulted Islam. But when asked about the fatwa, he doesn't answer. I mean, are we kidding ourselves? Just because he's not answering that specific question, we're not aware of the motive behind it. When he's saying that he hates Salman Rushdie because he insulted, you know, and also I think Sunni organizations. I think both. I'm not sure about this, but I think that both Al Qaeda and ISIS and so on, they have Salman Rushdie on their list, on their fatwa list of people they want their followers to kill, right? So, so it's so important that even if it's not directly Khomeini's fatwa, but the fact that he insulted Islam, it's
Mm,
still terrorism. Why
mm.
aren't we not being told that it is terrorism? I really think it's a huge problem that the media and the judicial system in the US has failed us this
Yep.
time with this attack.
Yeah, I did a search on his name, Hadi Matar, and all the news outlets are reporting it as an attack, attempted attack, murder, but no one's addressing it as a terrorist attack. Um, but yeah, Jamil
You're
is
back.
back.
You know, I cannot believe I have never experienced this. I have full connection to internet. Like I tested over 800 megabits, but suddenly page says that you have no connection. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
it's
happens.
Allah.
It's Allah.
It's Allah.
It's Allah. But
Or
when I was reading the Khomeini's death sentences, it's happened. So it's
could
I don't
be.
know.
Yeah. It's
I,
Allah, I'm telling you.
it's Allah. Sorry
Um,
for that. Yeah,
no worries, it happens. These technical problems always happen, so it's
yeah.
not a big deal. So we were talking about Hadi Matar. But I think since you're back, maybe you can continue the fatwa and your reflection on it, Jamil.
Yes, I should say, when you see that a leader of a country
Hmm.
giving a death sentences to a citizens of another country in a modern time, you have never seen
Yep.
like these things before, and UK never seen this before.
Yep.
And the book, a novel. It is not a documentary book but it's a novel. It's have 9 chapters
Hmm.
and 537 pages, like a Quran, almost.
Yeah.
And only 2 chapters is problematic for Muslims.
Yep.
But do they read the book?
Nope.
No, I don't believe. I believe a few person in the world.
Hmm.
I believe as Muslim read it just to see, okay, what is it? Because when you see that when Muslims even not read their holy book Quran,
Yep.
I cannot expect that they will read this book, this big
Yes.
book, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it's a novel. And the problematic thing, what they say, it's a problem. One of the thing is the book name
Hmm.
and the content of this in the book, the Satanic Verses, right?
Hmm.
When you say that to some Muslims, there is a book says Quran is a Satanic verse. There is a Satanic verses in the Quran,
Yep.
and then of course they get very upset.
Yep.
And of course, because I'm just putting myself to like a Muslim, and they say what, how? Because what makes Islam special for Muslims, that they have a book not inspired by God,
Hmm.
but the
It's the word of God.
direct
Yeah.
word of Allah, a
Yep.
God, which
Yep.
cannot be changed, which have no contradictions in it, and it will be there until the end of the earth, and even after the end of it, right?
And it was set in stone from the beginning of time. You have to remember that as well. I mean, it's written, there's a verse in the Quran that the Quran was set in tablets in heaven before the start
Yeah.
of the. So this is why they are assertive that the Quran is perfect. There's nothing in it that's imperfect. And that all the content of it is as it is set by Allah from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Which makes this whole problematic. The idea of that there was for a moment. I mean, there's dispute about how long these verses were left in the Quran. Some people say a few days. Some other sources say actually up to 15 years. These verses were left there until people start repeating them back to Muhammad and saying this doesn't make sense. How could we have one God? But then you say these three goddesses we can can help us in our prayer, which is the whole point of the Satanic Verses, and how Muhammad abrogated it completely and removed them from the Quran. It's actually the only verses that were removed, because we have abrogated verses that stayed, i.e., they're like the alcohol. There are some verses that say alcohol is good for the spirit, blah blah blah. Anyone who doesn't believe me, go and read them. I can get you the verses, but they were abrogated afterwards and said no, alcohol is forbidden, and in stages it was forbidden. Again, each verse abrogated the one before it to make it more banned and more not allowed. But in this case, this was the only case where the verses had to be removed from the Quran.
Yeah.
And these were the problematic element of them.
I choose the stream name like Islamic ignorance and ignorance and intolerance because of exactly this is the point.
Yeah.
Like the Satanic Verses incident existed in Muhammad's life.
Yes.
How we learned that? True, from the biographers of Prophet. I had the links, but now I lost all of them. I will share. But you can go to the Wiki Islam page, for example, guys and girls. Go on there and just write the Satanic Verses. Then you will get the all information from Islamic sources.
Yep.
So it is there. But of course, Muslims are ignorant, the most of them, about these things, the why verses come down.
Also,
like you said, Hassan. Today we have in the Quran the abrogated version of the Satanic Verses, like the answer to Satanic Verses. They have deleted or removed the Satanic Verses, but the novel author is just pointing that the story and telling the story in some like reality, but in a novel, that when after Muhammad start his prophethood career, he get like very very little response from his tribe and his family who are the polytheists, right? And after 1 year, they say, somebody say to him, if you say something's nice to our goddesses, three daughter of Allah, then we can sit together and prostrate.
Yes.
And he get the idea, okay, good idea, and he said he praised these goddesses and or accepted these goddesses that their reality. Like it be the guy who started his career with monotheism suddenly accepted polytheism, right?
Yeah.
And after that, what's happened? Shortly, I'm just telling. But if you have in your introduction, I don't need to.
I can show it to you. I can show you the verses. If you put the slide, we can read them together, and it points out where they are in the Quran.
But Jale should say something before we start that.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say that a lot of people laugh, and I have also laughed about the fact that a lot of Muslims have not read the Satanic Verses, and even not their own scriptures, and even not their own theological basis of understanding their own religion. And this is actually such a tragedy, because the fact that you're not even interested in reading your own scripture and your own theological, texts, and just saying, yes, I'm a Muslim, but how are you a Muslim? You have not even researched what it is to be a Muslim. It's such an intellectual poverty within that understanding that really should make Muslims be ashamed of their own ummah and their own religion and their own followers of their religion. Because, and of course, a lot of Muslims feel that, of course, you shouldn't insult the Prophet or the Quran and so on. And if you have done that, if you have a fatwa against you, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you, or something like that. At least a lot of Muslims, a huge group, feels that way about it, right? Even though they're not saying, I'm going to kill you or I would support killing you, they're saying, I kind of understand that you're in that position, Salman Rushdie, right? Or Jale or Jamal or whatever, who's insulting their religion. And they don't even have the curiosity to go in and read their own texts, their own religion. And I think that should be pointed out to them as not as something we laugh about, but it's a tragedy. I met a woman, a very young woman, maybe she was 15 or something like that. I was working at a school, a youth school in Copenhagen, and I found out that she supported the Islamic State. And her teacher told me, you know what, she cannot even read and write proper Danish. So she's going around with this Danish book about how the Islamic State is a good idea, or an Islamic State, not Daesh, but an Islamic State, and jihad and so on is the answer to Muslims' problems. She can even not read and write proper Danish. And it hit me kind of, yes, these are almost, some of these people are almost illiterate, right? Even if they're able to read and write, they haven't studied any of the things that they're for. And I think that is also about being an individual. In the West, you're always an individual first and then a member of a group later. But in the Muslim understanding of the identity, you're just a member of this group. You don't even care what your scripture says. You don't even care what the religion is about. So this is such a dangerous thing, and this is such a shame. And it's so shameful for Muslims. They should study their own religion before they're calling themselves Muslims.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, in schools, we only learn bits and pieces of certain verses that they want to push, that they try to interpret in certain way. Tend to be the small verses in the end of the Quran, Surah Al-Fil and Surah Al-Kafirun, of the Abu Surah Al-Masad about Abu Lahab. These little stories that make you think, oh, I understand the Quran, but really you don't understand anything from the Quran, and you never ever study them in a critical way. You just take them, this is what is said, and don't think about it. There's no point of analyzing it. You don't analyze it. And your point there, I mean, she is illiterate, but she probably looks at the Prophet Muhammad, who was illiterate, as her symbol. It's like, I don't need knowledge. I am with the brain and the fitra, the ability to know what's right and wrong from birth. So I don't need to know how to read. I don't need to know how to write. The Prophet didn't need that. Why should I? That's your symbol in a way.
And also, it's forbidden to ask questions, right? Don't they say that if you ask, if you criticize or ask a question about one verse in the Quran, if you doubt in one verse of the Quran, then you're actually a murtad, right?
Yep.
Exactly. This is the reason why most Muslims, don't feel that they need to read Quran in their own language, because then the question comes: what? Have you some doubt about it? Don't you believe this is Allah's word? Why you need to understand? Why you need to understand a perfect book? You have to just believe it.
It's very important to know that you're not allowed to doubt anything. And this is, of course, this goes against everything about being a human, because every day you go out in the world and you doubt everything because you have to survive. You even doubt, who can I trust? Where can I go? Is it safe? You're always doubting everything and asking questions. And if you're not allowed to do that in your religion, then of course,
it's only for Islam they don't want you to doubt. I don't see it necessary as restricting you from any other views. Like, they do want you to doubt other religions.
I know, but I mean, it's a natural process, from being a human being, that you doubt different things in life, right? So you would, of course, if you would follow your natural instincts, you would also doubt your religion, but that's not allowed. And also one thing about being a murtad, that's being, an apostate. If you doubt one verse in the Quran, you become an apostate. And that's, that has a death penalty written all over it in mainstream Islamic theology. And of course, this scares people. This scares Muslims as well as non-Muslims to ask questions. Even if you're just criticizing or insulting Islam, you get this violent threat against you often. And one thing that Western media have kind of forgotten, or not, they don't talk about it that much, is that the fatwa was not only about insulting Islam. The fatwa against Salman Rushdie was most of all, or at least as much, against him being an apostate, because they said, you are from a Muslim family, you have left your religion, and in that leaving your religion, you're criticizing your religion. So being an apostate is a very big, if you Google the trend, the fatwa in Farsi, they almost always call him the Murtad Salman Rushdie, because it's Murtad means apostate, and this is very important to them to underline that this is a person who left our religion and insulted our religion. So it's not only insulting, it's also leaving Islam.
Leaving Islam,
And also the fact that leaving Islam, you can't even change your mind. If you left Islam, you should die. This is also within mainstream theology. Then some theologues say, okay, you have 3 days to come back. If you don't come back within the 3 days, you have to be killed, no matter if you revert to Islam later. You're not forgiven.
Some schools,
yeah,
that doesn't
some
matter.
schools.
But
Yeah.
it is about
It
only
doesn't matter.
prophet, I
Yes.
think, this case. If against Allah, they can accept his repent. But if most of them. But just before you start, just one thing is simply, Khomeini said in his that fatwa, the why he's giving this fatwa, because the book is against Islam and against the Prophet and the Quran. It's nothing about that he insulting or something. It's for him that it is against Islam.
It exposes something in Islam, and he did it in a little bit of a satirical manner by creating a novel about it and making a story about it. So that's really where it comes from. But from my perspective, as growing in the Middle East, and I'm the only one here was a teenager when this came out, and saw the reaction live, and what we were told were completely not true about the book. So we were told that he directly insults the Prophet. He doesn't directly insult the Prophet. We were told that the Satanic Verses is a lie. It never existed. I remember growing up and everyone was saying, oh, there's no Satanic Verses in the Quran. How dare he make that suggestion? But one highly educated person did intervene. I can't remember the exact conversation, but I remember being very angry with that person, but saying, yes, there was, but it was removed. And even that suggestion got me very, very angry as a teenager. It's like, how dare you even suggest that there's anything wrong with the Quran, that there's any mistakes in the Quran? But when I grew up and left the Middle East and I was researching it from Islamic sources, I actually realized this is true. And this will be the next part here to talk about. So there is verses in the Quran. I don't know how many people here know that these verses in the Quran 53, 19 to 20, and that's Surah An-Najm. So that will be Surah An-Najm 19 to 20. And it says, have you thought of Alat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, and the third and the other? So these three are actually goddesses of the pagan Arab pagans at the time, and these verses are still in the Quran. But when you read them and you read the next verse, and sorry I didn't put it here, it says, "Do you prefer to have sons while you attribute to him your daughters. It doesn't make sense. Suddenly it cuts off to something completely different.
Right.
And in the interpretation of verse 21, it says that go to 52:39, which repeats a similar statement. So, or does he have daughters, or as you claim, while he prefers sons, which is also very sexist. But we know that
Yeah.
Islam is all about men, not women. So it's trying to say no, he doesn't have daughters. If he wanted to have anything, he would have had sons, which is also very controversial as it is.
Yeah.
But the statement was kind of confusing because it comes with these: have you thought of these three pagan goddesses? And then the actual verse that got abrogated and removed is this statement: تلك الغرانيق العلا وإن شفاعتهم لترتجى, which means they are exalted whose intercession is hoped for.
Right.
What it means is that these goddesses, you can pray for them as intercession to Allah himself. And this is in the context of the historical event that Jamil was mentioning, is that the group of people from Qurayshis were debating with Muhammad, saying, let us all knee together, let us all prostrate together, and be one group if you respect our goddesses the way we respect your God. You know what I mean? And you can
Yeah.
see that there was that peaceful element that the Qurayshis, as much as we try in Islam to try to picture them as awful, bad people who did not respect other people's views, you can see from this verse and the tafsir that has come with this verse is that they were trying to say, let's live in harmony together. Let's pretend we're worshiping all the gods together. And Muhammad, in the Quran at least, produced this verse that he later went back and said, actually, these were not from Allah. These were the Satanic verses. Why is it Satanic? Because by accepting that you can pray to other goddesses
Yeah.
as a way to pray to Allah, you're no longer monotheist. And this was very problematic. There was
And
many.
Hassan, this is clearly that you mentioned earlier too, that some says that the abrogation, like the angel Gabriel come to Muhammad and said, "Oh, what are you doing, Muhammad? Satan whispered to your tongue, so
Yeah,
it's not Allah." It can't come right after that, because the historical evidence says that some Muslims who immigrated earlier to Abyssinia
mm,
uh, uh, even heard that Quraysh, the tribe of Muhammad, became a Muslim. So
yeah,
some of them even come back to the Mecca, and this
yeah,
will take time. So I
yeah.
believe when Muhammad come with these satanic verses, it took
Mhm.
more than 1 year later
Yes,
come like abrogation, like, oh my God, I
to
did
remove it.
something's wrong. Yeah.
I totally agree. And look, anyone who thinks, oh, we're making this up, go and look at the tafsir of these verses, go and look at the hadith, and you'll find that this is what happened. I did not invent that statement. This is not an easy statement to invent in the Quran to say, "Tilka al-gharaniq al-ula." No one can come along and invent this. This is there. All that Salman Rushdie did is he exposed it, and he made a story about it and made it the center of the story. Now, Armin Navidi has said something. I haven't been able to cross-check this, but I was aware at the time that it was happening. The Islamic Republic had started an award for best writers, best inventors in Islam to match the Nobel Prize, as they were again trying to position themselves as the center of the Islamic world shortly after the revolution. And they were giving these awards to top journalists, top writers, top scientists, and stuff like that. But they had to be Muslim in a way, indirectly supporting Islamic, right? Islam. So Armin said that Salman Rushdie got one of these awards early on. Um, I couldn't find that online, but it does explain in some aspect, if it's true, and I'm yet to cross check that,
It is in
why.
documentary. It is true.
It is true. Okay, so that explains why he was angry. That explains why Khomeini was extra angry. They just gave him an award for being and he had amazing books before that, which was the Midnight Children, which was one of the best books he published. So if he's given him an award by the Islamic Republic, and then Salman Rushdie turns around and writes a book that in their view is offensive to Islam, that could actually explain why Khomeini was that extra angry with Salman Rushdie. It's
But
just my view. Yeah.
yes, but I don't. I'm not sure that it was after or before Khomeini's fatwa, but a small price. It's not a like big like.
Of course, it wasn't
Uh,
after the fatwa.
yeah, after the
Of course,
fatwa. Yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
before
yeah,
for sure. So I then
yeah,
if
yeah.
I couldn't find a reference to it, maybe it was a small award, but nevertheless, it would explain why Khomeini was that extra angry. We've just given you a award by the Islamic State, and there you go, offending Islam. I mean, that's the reaction I was trying to say here. Now, regardless, at the end of the day, nowadays, why would anyone still be angry with Salman Rushdie, where there are so much more offensive books online?
right.
There's so many books critical of Islam and critical of Muhammad. I just came across a book that is critical review of the Quran by, let me check the author here because I'm very terrible with names. Um, um, I can't. There you go. So the book is by Eric uh, uh, Schofer, and it's a lie told often enough becomes the truth, and it's about Islam and being directly critical of everything in the Quran. So to go to still hold that anger against a novel doesn't really make sense anymore, in my view. But it is what it is. So I just wanted to focus on the verses here for anyone who's still not sure. The verses are in the Quran. That there was one piece that was later abrogated and removed, and it's the only verse in the Quran that ever been removed by Muhammad by saying this specific verse has come from the devil.
Yeah. But Hassan, I was thinking today, even if I go with this book, somebody did actually in London, some BBC journalist went with this book on the streets and
Yeah.
and look for the reactions, and it was crazy.
Yep.
It was
And
3 years ago. Yeah.
yes, but in
was,
the other case, of course, there is critical books about Islam written by Westerners. Some you mentioned right now, but it is not strange that when Ali Sina writes the book with the fake name, Ali Sina is not existing. It's not his name. He write the book. The what was the name book? Yes, uh, the Prophet Muhammad, about Prophet
Mhm.
Muhammad. But he is criticizing with insults too.
Yes.
So he have to live with the fake name in the last 40 years, and we don't know who is he even today.
Yes.
And Ibn Barak, who wrote it about 25 years ago, why I left Islam.
Yeah.
Does his name is Ibn Barak? No, it is only a fake name.
But things are changing. Like
Yeah,
you have.
things are changing. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
other thing, I like Ayan Hirsi Ali. Write the book, make the movie, living in fear still. It can happen to her too. What we have seen happen to Salman Rushdie after
it
33
can
years.
happen to us. It can happen to,
Yes,
it can
and
happen to anybody.
and for example, the
I'm
Ali
sorry,
Dash.
but I have to say, if you pass the street in any Western big city, it can happen to you. The terrorism of
Yes,
Islam.
and
So if we just keep on being afraid, a lot of people are afraid, and the more we are afraid, the bigger power they have. The more we are afraid of them, the more they want to scare us. And of course, in the fatwa, he even writes, "This is to scare people."
yes,
He's
Yeah.
like saying this is terrorism. He's explaining, my fatwa is terrorism.
Yep.
So we have to be very aware of the fact that we shouldn't understand that they want us to be scared, and that we should not be. The more people we are to stand up and go against these. I mean, could you even imagine? We have talked about this before. Could you even imagine coming up with more bad ideas than Islam? I can, maybe Nazism, but they're very close, I think. And there's still 1400 years later, we are afraid of criticizing it. Even Muslims are afraid of criticizing, asking questions, doubting their own religion within their religion.
Yeah.
This has to stop, because if you're not criticizing Islam and you're afraid of the Islamists, okay, but are you fine with the people who are being run over by cars or getting attacked by the train station, airports, and all of the Islamist attacks we've seen in the Western countries, as well as of course, in Muslim countries? You want this to stop, you have to speak up and stop being afraid. I think it's very important to say, because I see it all the time with the people that I work with in Denmark. People are so afraid. Now, I'm not only talking about people with a Muslim background, even Danish people, even criticizing just the hijab. They're so afraid of, standing up for what they believe in, because they're afraid of getting even called racist or Islamophobe, or, also the violent threats that come from Islamists. We just need to,
Just to add what you said, exactly Khomeini said in his death sentence, I call on all valiant Muslims, wherever they may be in the world, to kill them without delay, so that no one will dare insult the sacred beliefs of Muslim henceforth. But of course,
but he failed.
Things are changing. Not totally, because things are changing. Yes, now we have e-books. Bookstores doesn't need to be afraid to have books in their stores, and ex-Muslims speaking up out and loud. But in the same time, yes, he managed it actually to scare Westerners, especially. What's happened? Bookstores in this time in the 1990s removed the book Satanic Verses, right? And the publishers
just 10 years just 10 years ago, when I would tell people that I criticize Islam, they wouldn't say anything. When I tell people today that I'm a critic of Islam, they will say to me, oh, you should be cautious, you should look out for yourself, you should be afraid even, right? So there isn't, even though we have moved forward, there are more people. The fright, the angst, and the threat of violence is more clear to Westerners today than it was 10 years ago. So in a way, we have some progress, but we have also regressed a little, because more people are now aware of and afraid of Islam, criticizing Islam.
I agree, but see, when I look at books like by Harris Sultan, who's showing his name and showing his face, and he published a very good book about why leaving Islam. It's very popular.
I read it, but just to say something, but it was I was disappointed, because we had him, and I can send you the whole seminar. When I said to him something in his book, I said, very good, write it. He said he's disagree with this. He's like, what? I said, you write the book just some months ago. But just to be a little bit politically correct, in any case, yes, there are ex-Muslims, there are writing books, and this what he write book or other, it's already written in many years ago. Like Ali Dashti, for example, when he wrote the book name is 23 years. He's a Persian from Iran. He had to say to his friend that, please publish this book after I die, not before. Right, these things. I agree with you that there is progress in the apostates in us, but in the other side there are a lot of restrictions. There are now coming new penal codes, like in Germany they have one code. They can arrest you if you insult some holy things in Islam. And
really?
Now, yes, and they are fighting against it. I was in Germany not long ago, and in the other side, in Norway, they are putting some law codes in some restrictions about freedom of speech. They are still busy with the Islamophobia and the hate speech. I don't see so much progress, but I see, like, yes, we are more visible, but still in fear.
Also,
It's two
this,
ways.
yeah.
It's two ways. I mean, I look at the next push that's helping a lot of Muslims leave Islam and realize what's wrong is actually not books but YouTube. So I think the books are part of actually being growing up in Islam, and I don't know how they did it, is that it discourages you reading other books. It tells you don't to read other books, only for studying maybe. But we didn't read novels. We didn't care so much about reading other people's opinion and reading other people's views. We only cared about our view and our Islamic view, and then we learned science and math and history and other things. We didn't really care. I don't remember ever opening a book that had nothing to do with either studying or Islam, i.e., a religious book, until I was maybe 24, 25. It didn't. The concept of being on a train or a tube or a bus, opening a random book and reading it, just doesn't exist in our culture. But YouTube has changed things. So from Apostate Prophet to David Wood to Christian Prince to Harris to Nuria to Infidel Noodle. It is an avalanche, and I can see that reaction is working when the West are trying sometimes to come up with some certain restriction about insults and stuff. It's because this is having an effect on the Muslim community, and they're panicking. How can we restrict that? In Pakistan, they can block it. In some Muslim countries, they can block it. But what can they do in the West? I don't think they can do much. I really don't think they can do much because it
I
goes
will
against.
believe you. Of course, this is not the problem. Problem is, like, if you go back now,
Hmm,
33 years ago,
yeah.
what these people did in the West, actually, they started everything. They sent the about the book to all the Islamic countries,
Hmm,
from London and India.
yeah.
And they get outraged, and they say it in front of TV. I just shared a link, BBC documentary on in the comment section. Everybody can watch. They are clearly saying to TV reporter with
Yep.
open face and name, "I will kill him. We will
Yes.
kill him." And what's happened after that? And why they asked the Queen to put blasphemy laws, because it was not blasphemy laws was only were there with if something's in Christianity, about Christianity,
Hmm,
but not Islam, and they want to put the Islam in the same. So they want to bring blasphemy laws, Islamic blasphemy laws, to West, and they mentioned almost not the same way, of course, but now, all these years nothing changed, and I'm really angry when I see what's happened in all these years. Just because, think about it, you are
yeah, but
importing a stupid, very stupid religious idea, and you are bringing these people to your country, and these people suddenly even killing, like Charlie Hebdo. Charlie Hebdo did blasphemy all these years
true.
until they did they insult the
Islam.
one Islam. What's
Yep.
happened? And they didn't learn nothing. They have no still in the schools, like in the classrooms, showing the pictures of Prophet Muhammad. In Norway, the newspapers stop
Printing, yeah.
no, stop publishing any caricatures,
Yeah, yeah.
any. Just because if they make some caricatures like before about politicians, people asking, yeah, why you don't do about Muhammad, why you
Yeah.
don't dare,
But I
just
mean,
just to annoy this question, they stop. Even comment fields, the comment sections, they remove it just because they don't want, but the people will write critically about Islam if some
I,
article
And
will be
this is
published.
my problem. This is a huge problem that both the media and our politicians, the state itself, is censoring criticism of Islam. Just the fact that I am going through, the lawsuit against me, it's actually, it started with the family, but it's actually the state the state has gone after other critics of Islam, saying you should not. They have printed, pictures from other terrorist attacks, and saying you should not print any pictures from terrorist attacks. I didn't even print anything. I shared a link in a situation where I shared a link to a terrorist attack in a situation where both the media and the state didn't tell us that a Danish citizen had been killed, actually decapitated, in an Islamic terrorist attack in Morocco. No newspaper was telling us this. The state was not telling us this. They said you can talk with the Moroccan. So the state is not, telling us what is happening, does not give us the right to criticize what is happening. Of course, we do have our freedom of speech, but they're trying to manage it. They're trying to, oppress it a little bit as much as they can. The politicians, they don't really want to talk about it because it's problematic, and the police, the secret police always tells them, if you do this, we will have more terrorist attacks, or with the threat of terrorism will rise, right? So everybody's just going quiet when it comes to the criticism of Islam. We just had a demonstration against just opposite the mosque, the Iranian mosque in Copenhagen, and we were maybe 30 people. People didn't, they told me, so many people, at least 30 people told me personally, I really wanted to come, but I don't dare to come.
Yep.
Flemming Rose, who was the editor of Jyllandsposten when the cartoon crisis came. He came and spoke. It was a good demonstration, a lot of good speeches from different people. Atheist society was also alongside alongside Free Iran. We managed to have this demonstration, but people were afraid to come. The politicians didn't come to speak, and the media didn't really write one word about it. And my understanding of why they didn't, the politicians and the media didn't really cover this or come, is because they felt that we were disrespectful or provocative, towards the mosque.
Probably the second one more, yeah.
Yeah, and it's in a situation where this mosque supports what happened in New York when Salman Rushdie was stabbed, and they haven't denounced what happened. They haven't denounced the fatwa. They support Khamenei inside that mosque. So what do you want from people who are critical of this? You want us not to demonstrate, not to protest against the fatwa? Yes, that is exactly what the police want. They really didn't want to come. They didn't contact us, the police, and after we were done, people were so afraid. The people who attended even were so afraid. And when we were walking away, they told one of the persons who had arranged this demonstration. The police said, "Was it really necessary for us to be here?" It's amazing because they were walking. The people from the mosque, they were taking pictures of us. They were, intimidating us, standing there, driving by with cars, and people were so afraid. Flemming Rose was there. He has been under protection for so many years, and you want us not to be scared. You want us to say, "No, police, you don't have to come the next time." They think we're irritating. They think we're just. We are a part of the problem. As much as the Islamists who are threatening with violence are a part of the problem, we who are provoking these Islamists, we are as much we are as much a problem as the Islamists who are threatening with violence. It's crazy to experience this
Yeah,
view when you're trying to do something good for the democracy that
true.
you're a part of. It's
Mm.
really depressing.
I think police everywhere in Europe, not so much in the USA, I think, but in Europe, they just want no problems. They don't care what's right, what's wrong. They just don't want to deal with anything. They're short on resources. They don't want any provocation, even though what you're doing is 100% you're right. And I just wanted to add also to Jamil's point, some of the reactions that were done in the UK and happen in Europe is always to try to calm things down, but they don't necessarily agree with them. So Salman Rushdie, despite the Queen at the time saying she didn't agree with his book and she felt that it was a bit disrespectful, he did get knighted by the Queen in 2007. And I missed it in the news, but he was also appointed a member of the Order of the Companions of Honor this year in 2022 in her birthday honors list. So what this shows is the West, they're kind of like telling some of those angry people about this and that, oh, okay, just calm down, take it easy, blah blah blah, but maybe under the table they are still pushing. There's now an act in the UK called Freedom of Speech Act, and they are pushing for the fact that you have and you have the right to be open about it. You know what I mean? So there are some moves. There's always, for every action there's going to be a reaction, and I think in the 1980s, late 1980s, when the Salman Rushdie happened, even as someone living in the Middle East, we were shocked by the reaction, and I'm pretty sure Europe was shocked. They just didn't know why was this reaction so extreme over an author who wrote a novel and who doesn't really directly criticize that religion. Is I mean, so I can sometimes sympathize, maybe because I look at things in a positive way. I look at the half full cup. Is I can see sometimes why the reaction was a little bit shocked, and they didn't react aggressively as other people would do. Saudi Arabia, for instance, did threaten Britain at the time to cut its relation, and Britain depended heavily on Saudi Arabia. And not many people know this, but it's in the BBC documentary, Jamil, you probably saw, is that the parliament apologized. The British parliament apologized to Saudi Arabia over the book. I mean, because the economical ties and the depend on petrol and all these British expat living in the Gulf and Saudi Arabia were going to be expelled if they didn't do that. But what is an apology? Nothing at the end of the day. When a few years later they give him an honor list, a knighthood, sorry, and an honor list. You know what I mean? So there is this game. They are playing this game, I would say. But you know,
I understand, you know, I understand that, but you know, I'm busy with like simple thinking. No, sometimes, you know, I feel that not so much things changed because, you know, today even if some people's book uh, promoted in a negative way in a Muslim country like India, for example,
mhm,
it's not Muslim country, but a lot of Muslims living there, or Pakistan, or Iran, and it's if it go viral in on internet, this person says that Muhammad is a pedophile
yeah,
or whatever, you will be never safe because this is a historical content. You know, Muslims, like not all of them,
mhm,
but have a like mob culture, and they have ignorance in the same time, and they can be and when their feelings are hurt,
yeah.
they
They
kill.
take their own action. Yeah, I know.
Yes, and this is the, I mean, is if it's happened in if it's happened in 1989 or now 2022, almost same, because of, I believe, Western failed in somehow. Not only Salman Rushdie, man, Ayaan Hirsi Ali too, and Charlie Hebdo, they failed because it is very easy. You will say, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
You can even insult a historical person, okay? And you will shut up. You can criticize the author, but you will not say you will kill. Or I
I,
don't want any like this kind of people in the West. They should say Western people, and even like 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 they had to protect, but it became like an isolated case. Like it was not the case of United Kingdom just because of he's the citizens of United Kingdom.
yeah,
But in every country we have seen, in Oslo, many thousand people did the same thing. What they did in England, what they demand.
yeah.
But
So,
also
but nothing
just,
changed today. Even
but
still,
on,
But
when I saw the video, the Muslim organizations like demonstrating and saying very bad things, like they will kill, he's the Satan, and we even the Sunni Muslims suddenly became the followers of Shia leader, and they
yeah,
look him like a hero.
well,
And
that's what we wanted to do. That's exactly what Khomeini was trying to do at the time, is to
I,
position himself
I
as
mean,
the
is
new
that
Muslim leader of the Islamic world. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, is that only that there is a lack of fighting against this kind of mentality in Islam in the West by Westerners.
I
There
agree.
is none, almost none. Still, they protect, like we are not humanist, like we hate Muslims. No, but you should say that you people, you are just come here, and in 1989, there was a little Muslims. When we talk about just only maybe 100,000 or
Yeah,
200,000 per big countries.
yeah,
But and just you say no, no problem. They have this book hurt their feelings, but we will fix it. They will understand our laws. Let's pretend to be friend. Let's be friend again with Iran, and it's okay. This politic, but how you can then open, like almost open door politic, and invite
mm,
all kind of this mentality people inside your country
but
without doing a
even
real action. And
just
this
think
is
about this. Salman Rushdie had to flee at the end. He had to flee to the United States, from Britain to the United States,
yeah,
only to be more safe, only to be more secure, only to be more sure that he wasn't being going to be killed,
yeah.
right? At the same time, an ex-minister of Iran who has written a book, understanding and explaining and sympathizing with the fatwa, only about the fatwa. Where do you think he's living today? In the UK.
Hmm.
The man who was close to Khomeini, who wrote a whole book
Hmm.
defending the fatwa, is living in the United Kingdom, whilst Salman Rushdie has to go to another country to be more safe, and even there he wasn't safe. It's why are we having people? It's one thing to have to say, oh, you have to think about Muslim immigration, how much, and the limits and stuff. And I do totally agree with you. We have to have limits, and I think the limit is, I'm done. We can stop all of it right now, right? But just tell me, why are a person who is close, an ex-minister who has written and who still to this day supports and defends his book and his writings, why is he living in the UK?
I can give some insights because I live in the UK myself now, and one of the things they've done. So now they have a nationality and test when you want to become British, and it does go through all this, the freedom of people to express their dislike of religion, any religion, freedom of thought, about gay marriages and gay rights, and they have to pass that test. They have to agree. And
it's a good
when
thing.
you and when you get the nationality, it's called neutralization, British neutralization. It has a clause in there that states very clearly that should you do any act that's against the country or the Queen or the of and against the principles, British principles, they will take away the passport away. And this is how they
Fantastic,
do. And this is how they took it
fantastic.
away from that female jihadist who went
Yeah,
to Iraq, because to Syria, and
So
joined the
Syria,
ISIL,
yeah.
Yeah, it's because she was a new. She got the passport. She has a dual citizenship, so they can take it away. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a pushback. I don't think
Exactly what
the
I
West.
want to hear.
Yeah,
These things. But what did you say, that they are working on it, or it is
no,
applied?
it's applied. It
Okay,
is the law,
very good.
and this is what's keeping many of these jihadists in check. So this ex-Iranian minister, if he dares to do anything now, they'll take the passport away from him or his residence or whatever he has, and they throw him out because they will know that he has a second passport of any sort. They know already, like every person, like they know I have a second passport. They will register that when you get neutralized, and so on. So I think maybe other parts of Europe haven't caught up yet with this, but at least in the UK they have.
He was actually this ex-minister. He was asked, "Would you kill Salman Rushdie yourself?" And he had said, "Oh, I have written this book. The rest is up to you, my friends." So
So,
this is a person who still had these comments after the attack against Salman Rushdie, and I don't know if he's a British citizen, but he's living there.
yeah, no, he
Uh,
didn't say he would. So if he dared and say he would be in trouble. See why he used those terms. He used it very, very cleverly, very deceivably. Like many now Muslim groups online are refusing to comment. They say, "Oh, we don't have to comment about everything." When they're asked to, would you condemn the
Condemn,
attack?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're like,
but
"Oh
this
no,
is
we don't."
this is so
They're
typical
using
for
clever.
the Iranian Republic, because the Taqiyya, do you know this? This
Taqiyya,
is
of course.
a very huge part of Shia Islam, that you never tell the truth if it hurts you and your position regarding your religion. So they're lying left and
Well,
right.
I mean, again,
Uh,
unfortunately, they've twisted this. Traditionally, the Shia, and it used to be actually under Islam generally, but Sunnis have distanced themselves. So when Muhammad and many Muslims were in Mecca and they were afraid of being beaten or threatened by the majority of Qurayshi who were kuffar, taqiyya was applied. What Shia did after Islam broke out, they were a smaller group compared to the Sunni, and they were being prosecuted by the Sunnis. So for even until today, there's many Shia in Saudi Arabia who pretend to be Sunnis under the concept of taqiyya. Taqiyya is to protect yourself from harm,
And
not to
Quran
lie.
allows that. Quran
Yeah,
says that.
it is in the Quran. Yeah, but I mean, Sunnis have distanced themselves from it over time, saying that it's not applicable now. But Shia still see it as applicable. But it's not to deceive other people; it's to protect yourself in case of danger to your life. And I think they've twisted it and made it now even to lie
but
to defend
they
religion.
can argue
Twisted.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
anything is a threat to their to
Exactly.
their
I want to
life
leave just because I say these things, because I want to leave like I wish
in a
they start.
positive. Yeah.
I wish in the West they start very earlier and confront this stupid and in the same time hypocritical ideology. And at least they should allow us to do what we do and what we say. Like, I want I want to have free speech. For example, this live streaming I couldn't publish on my private page because of 29 days ban. And in our ex-Muslims of Norway page is so restricted that if so little people getting a notification or update. I and even they say that a person, like not algorithm, but like a person on Facebook got gone through our page and decided this. It's very dangerous things for freedom of speech. But in any case, if you go back to the book, says Satanic Verses, book name is Satanic Verses, and in the novel he have some characters, Mahoud, which is Muhammad, and and uh, and Satan whispering him, and he made these verses.
Yeah.
This is his Islamic history. Nothing
Yep.
found from the clouds, right? And the
Yes.
other thing, what Muslims are angry about, it is prophets' wives. In
Mm.
another story, there is a 12 prostitutes, and they have the same names as Prophet's wives, 12 wives,
Hmm.
these two things. It is nothing.
Yep.
If you compare to insulting Muhammad, there is books saying that Muhammad is a crazy person,
Yep.
it's a murderer and rapist. Uh, but the
The
problem
hadith,
is,
the hadith
yeah,
itself. I mean, anyone who opens Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim and read what Muhammad did, I'm sorry, these are more offensive stuff. The reality of what Muhammad did, like marrying Aisha at the age of 6, which Aisha narrates herself. She says, he married me when I was 6 and had slept with me when I was 9. I mean, you don't need to read it from other books. That's why sometimes when I'm discussing these on my Instagram, I'm like, you don't even need to go and read other books. Just open Sahih Bukhari and read for yourself the stuff there. The references to how to clean yourself with 3 rocks
yeah,
when you go to the toilet. Or you tell me why do we even want the story of how he took Safia as a slave and then decided to marry her halfway through the journey because he couldn't wait to get to the destination without sleeping with her. I mean, and she was a hummus, one of
yeah,
the benefits of the war. You don't really need to go and read it from any other source. Just open Sahih Bukhari, open Sahih Muslim, and read it for yourself. It's shocking.
yeah,
And also another reason why Muslims they don't want to read anything about their religion is they don't want to have to be confronted with these things that they know are a problem. At least if they don't know all of this that we are talking about in details, they at
Mhm.
least know probably about Aisha, because this is a very huge, almost all Westerners by
Talk
now
about
know
it.
that
Yeah.
this Aisha, this child marriage, they know about it. So, but if you ask Muslims, they say they make a face. You have to
Yep.
talk to an imam. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want you to confront me about it.
Yep.
I cannot. You have to talk to an imam, because they don't want to criticize it. They don't want to, you know, actually think about it.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to say. And then you ask them, but Muslims today marry children because of what your prophet did. Don't you want to know about that? Don't you want to criticize that?
Yep.
It's just
Yeah, they don't want to deal with it because it's the cognitive dissonance, isn't it? It gives
yeah,
them that
yeah.
headache where
I
they don't
actually
want to think
write this
about
in
it.
my book. Yeah, it's
It's
cognitive dissonance. Yeah,
this cognitive dissonance. For me, it's also the owning women as war bounty is
yeah,
that's the bit they can't deal with, and because it's in the Quran. So with the child marriage, it's a vague verse that talks about divorce, and it says that you can divorce any girl, including girls who have not had menstrual cycle,
menstruated. Yeah,
which means they are still children. Yeah, so
yeah,
that might be a little bit vague, and some people can try to walk around it. But we have 14 verses that talk about milk
yeah.
al-yamin
Slavery, six. Yeah,
yeah,
six
and
slavery.
ma
Yeah.
malakat imanukum, and they're very clear about owning women as slaves, selling them and buying them. But yeah, it is their problem at the end of the day. We have to talk about it. We have to expose it. We have to discuss it. And by I mean, what we do here today is 10 times more blasphemous than Salman Rushdie. So
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
for me what this guy did, Hadi Matar, is just pure ignorance, and I have to sympathize with him. And this might seem shocking, but I was Hadi Matar back in the day. I could have been easily influenced. The narrative, the way they lie to you, the way they tell you this is what's the truth and this is what's lies, the way they tell you you don't need to read what this person has said, we're telling you the truth. And I can't help but think he was motivated by money. I mean, there's still a prize there. There's something almost $2 million that was reconfirmed recently, that it hasn't been changed
yeah.
by Iran. So
Even they raised it in 2017 with
yes,
600,000 more
yes.
dollar.
So Hadi Matar was probably also. I mean, I don't know how much. I can't talk for him, but he sitting
He
in
was
the
living in his mom's basement, right?
But
So he
exactly.
wasn't.
but some says that this is the work of Mossad. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah, they're always gonna say that. But I mean, when
Yeah.
9/11 happened in the Middle East, everyone went out celebrating. Everyone in my street were out drumming that this is hitting the big Satan. This is killing. The America has fallen. America's destroyed. Blah blah blah. The next day, oh, this was Mossad.
Yeah.
Oh, was Israel. Oh, this. But yesterday,
Inside job.
yesterday,
Inside
you
job.
were
Yeah.
down celebrating.
Yeah.
How could you
this
now say
is
that?
this is
Yeah.
the mental problem that Islamists and Muslims. It's such, conspiracy theory is the life, the mentality. It's the identity of Muslims. It's
It's
just
yeah.
it's such a huge part of. And when the conspiracy theories became more and more a part of Western politics, with COVID and all of the recent, with what happened in the US with Trump and so on, I was like, what the heck is going on? Stop the conspiracy theories, because this is such a bad totalitarian way to go, where everything becomes, there is a man and they have a
Yeah.
plan, and then
No, it's because they like to confuse people by saying this is not them when they know it is them. It's not the religion when it is the religion. So ISIS is also, of course, invented by
I
Mossad and the
said, yeah, with my
Zionists.
Mossad, yeah,
Al Qaeda was funded with weapons by the USA. Yes, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
they always, yes, look at the historic context at the time. Yes,
yeah, yeah,
Taliban was getting weapons from the USA to fight the Soviet, but as soon as the Soviet left, they stopped supporting them. I mean, they don't want to see that part. They just want to see whatever they want to see
yeah.
and make up whatever they want to do. But it is what it is. I have to go, unfortunately. It was I have other commitments, but
Thank
thank you
you,
so much,
Hassan. Thank you so
Jamil
much for
and
joining,
Jalila, for
and
bringing
see
me
you
in.
on next episode.
You
Thank you,
too.
and
Yes,
Thank you.
please. Yes, please. It
Thank
was a
you.
pleasure. Thank you very
thank
You
you.
much.
too.
Bye bye.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
And Jale, I should say that you know the lack of challenging Islam is a big problem in the West, and this is the main reason I think that people like the attacker of Salman Rushdie gets courage. He's only 24 years old and have never read the book. He was not even born the time when book published it first time. But the only thing I believe that can free Muslims from these dogmas and from this really intolerant, extreme religions ideology to challenging it. And this is what we are fighting for, to allow us to challenge this ideology properly, right?
And
And
also, the brainwashing is so huge. It's the you know in Islam, when you first walk into a mosque, you're not told about Aisha, you're not told about jihad, you're not told about all the problematic sides of Islam. You're sort of, it goes easy, and they have all these excuses when it comes to different critical parts, the controversial parts of Islam. And uh, you know he was saying that he could have been someone like Matar, Hadi Matar. Like you could become a terrorist. And in Denmark, we saw many Muslims go from normal Muslim to a jihadi, in going to Syria and being a jihadi. In a short term of maybe some years, they were brainwashed into being a jihadi, right? And this brainwashing, we have to understand how effective brainwashing is. When you're brainwashed, you don't ask questions, you don't think logically, you don't go and read other books, you don't ask questions. You're told not to doubt, and you buy the whole package. And when you buy the whole package, then becoming a jihadi is so easy within the frames of mainstream theology in Islam. And we really need to understand the brainwashing of it all, because a lot of people who I know, who say, oh, we didn't know this and we didn't know that, we didn't read about this. Yes, but that's a part of the brainwashing, that you're being, as a horse, you have these,
Yeah,
you close your
horseless.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, you close your mind and you just go forward with not the knowledge, but the brainwashing of the theology. And then you don't ask questions, and then you just go do what the Islamists tell you to do.
The fundament of Islam is about believing without doubt. It's not about reading and learning and
Asking
thinking,
questions.
asking questions. It is core of Islam that if you say, I heard and I believe, this means you are a Muslim. To be a Muslim, you have to testify that you believe.
Yeah.
And you don't need to say, I read, I discuss it,
I
I
don't
check
know.
it.
You don't have to
No,
know.
you believe it.
Yeah.
And how we can challenge this? The only way to free Muslims from this kind of mentality is educating them with critical approach, with blasphemy, with insulting, if even this needs insulting or caricaturizing, like mockery. Why religions have to be protected by any law or any countries, like it's the state? So I mean, really, if they let people speak free and protected by government, if anybody is talking about any ideology, Muslims can say anything they want against any other religions or atheism or ex-Muslims, whatever they want. But if they allow this, and if we because there are a lot of um, uh, ex-Muslims, right, and a lot of people with doubt, and people who actually don't believe but pretending they are Muslims. So Islam will die in the end. It will happen, and I agree with Hassan. Of course, it is a lot of things changing. But in the West, when I look to the Westerners, like what's happened in Denmark in the last week, right? If you can talk a little bit about the child hijab ban
Yeah.
proposal, and what kind of reactions from the ethnical Danish people who are non-Muslims, what happens really?
There was a commission put. A commission is always, the sitting minister or the sitting governor. The sitting government says we want a commission on this, and they wanted a commission on social control, right? On the fact that a lot of mostly women or girls, but also boys, are being controlled within with a religious control, a religious oppression, really, mostly Muslim religious oppression, right? This commission came forward with an idea to ban hijab within the first 9 years of school in Denmark, both in the private schools and in the public school. And this is, of course, I welcome this. I think it's a good idea. I think it's necessary because there is this control, there is this oppression within Muslim families to press, or even just making the argument, you will go to hell, or you're not pleasing Allah with having your hair out. Just, for me, it's child abuse to put a hijab on a child and say, we want you, because you're a girl, because you have a vagina, we want you to be covered. I think it doesn't go with being a child. So I support this suggestion. And a lot of Islamists, of course, they went bananas, and they had a demonstration the day after. Almost 3,000 people joined that demonstration. It was the same day as the Salman Rushdie fatwa against. We were 30 people attending. They were 3,000.
Yeah.
And they did it in one day, right? Luckily, as I see it, when you look at the demonstration, it was mostly Muslims. It was mostly Muslim women with the hijab.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So of course, I think the Islamists will, of course, be against such a suggestion. But I think normal Muslims, most secular Muslims, will not mind it. They will actually be happy, because when just one Muslim in a classroom, says, I don't want to shower after, gym class because I don't want to be naked, it's against our religion, that pushes all of the Muslims to be, okay, if it's against our religion, then why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? So this control is massive within a community of Muslims. So I think it's a good thing that the state makes this rule and says you cannot wear it. And I think also, it's time to say, are you an Islamist that cannot live with these rules? Then bye-bye. It's time to separate, the Islamists from the Muslims, and say, if you want to live in this society, you have to live, you cannot control your child only because she has a vagina. You cannot oppress your child only because she has a vagina. And of course, the media are not asking the questions, why is it? Why is the reason why girls have to wear hijab? Why is it that boys are not to wear this same thing? Aren't we against discrimination based on gender? Or are we for it? Are we for discrimination based on gender?
Yeah. I think let's have a new episode about hijab than on schools. If the Western countries like Denmark focusing on the secular state, then all problem will be gone. If they say religion and religious practice, religious symbols have no place in any state department, this is including schools. Private schools, you can do whatever you want.
No, but not even private schools, because if you let it to be, if you don't ban it for the private schools, then the Islamists will just move.
Of course, they have to have some restrictions. So because this is the one thing. The other thing is to care the children of Muslims.
Yeah,
they have to have same rights, and they have to have the same freedom as the child of non-Muslims. Yes. So this is another things too. But like, it is sometimes really, it's so crazy to think that no one with big voice like politicers, with like strong politicers who can say, like you say, we cannot allow. If you want to live in this country with our values, then you should follow. Yes, you should follow, or bye-bye. Yeah. Because this is the point where we are going in the end. If they continue with the same things, like 33 years ago, the same thousands of people demonstrating and demanding killing of Salman Rushdie, today they can go on the street whenever. Suddenly, many thousands on the street can say that threat people who drove caricature of a historical person like Muhammad, right? This can happen anytime, as long as you are the Westerners not fight against the mentality of this ideology. I'm not saying that the people, but the mentality, people can change. Like many other ex-Muslims who changed their minds because of the challenge which they met and all the critics, and they educated themselves. But
what is also very funny is that the Islamists, what is very funny is also that the Islamists criticizing this suggestion is, they say, oh, this is against the women's rights. Women's rights? You're calling children women? That is within because they see small children with vaginas as women, because they see them as sexual objects that need to be, covered up. So they actually see them as women. They see small children as women, because that's why they should have a hijab. Because if you don't see them as women, you don't want to cover them up. Why should you cover a child up? But a child that has a vagina is a woman almost immediately, right? Because there is no, there is no age limit to
We should, all of
marriage.
us, all the critics of critics should really ridicule this stupid Stone Age ideas. You see it
Yeah.
many, even like modern Islamic, like some YouTubers. They are, even when they film on street, they are blurring the legs of woman or hair of woman. You see, we have to laugh. We have to really criticize and say how stupid. What kind of religion? Everything's about the skin and hair and like the body. What's this?
Yeah.
And the religion promises me pussy afterlife. They are forbidding in this life to look the skin of the woman, but promising pussy in the afterlife. So stupid things.
Also in this life, they're promising both for wives. They're promising, but
Like
if you
alcohol, they're banning alcohol. They say that this haram, this forbidden. But what I will get after I die, I will have a
alcohol.
river of wine. River. I can just drink, whenever I want. So like many Muslims, I also all the time say that many Muslims are ignorant, unfortunately, because they have two choices. If you learn Islam properly, like read how you can know Islam without knowing Muhammad. Salman
Yeah.
Rushdie knew Muhammad more than majority of Muslims.
Yeah.
This is the reason why Muslims get angry, because they don't know what he knows. When he writes, Islam insults itself. If you just read the Muhammad's life,
It's an insult. Yeah, if you are normal human being, just reading, as he was saying, Sahih Bukhari, he said, I think,
Yeah.
if you read just that book, it's it's just insulting, itself. It's really it's abhorrent what the religion calls for and accepts. And
Yeah, like these Muslims, when they get so angry and even demands that of the author Salman Rushdie, they don't understand that the thing which hurts their feelings is not Rushdie, their own books, their own prophet hurting their feelings, but they don't know this.
the woman in India, the woman in India just saying what was, your prophet married a child. Remember I don't know whether it was a fatwa, but she had she had a cartoon crisis. Just this woman politician in India. I don't remember her name. Do you recall? We had it was not that long ago, a couple of months ago. There was a woman in India who had this.
Yes, the politicians.
Yeah,
she just named
she
it.
just said, "This is your religion." She just said, "What is your religion?" That was the insult.
So they say this is a crazy idea and have to be confronted in every way, really, in every way. And a person, Moet Kusa, says, "You all taking live callers in the stream? Some do you take callers in the stream?" Yeah, I don't know. Do we have time?
Yeah, let's just take one.
We have never did this, but Matus.
Let's just take one.
I will put here.
Mo, Texas, USA. Is that what the?
Do you want to join Moet Kusa?
I think it's Mo, Texas, USA. No, it's maybe that's
Mo, Texas, USA. Okay, do you want to
I think
join?
so. It's just a guess.
If you want to join, just tell me. I will put. I did never this before. Wait. Let's do that actually. Let's have a person.
Yeah, that's fun.
Invite, copy. Because I can, if somebody comes, like we can just block it. So that's correct. It's Mo Texas. Okay, join us, Mo Texas. Here's the link. Public. I just put that.
Don't put it public.
I put it public. No, because of when they pop up, we can decide if person hide
Yeah,
himself, then it's probably we will not accept. And yes, and just before we finish, this is very sad. It's hurting me. When
yeah,
I watched the documentary, the old documentary about the Salman Rushdie affairs, I think the man is really, really brave man. Salman Rushdie is really very intelligent and a brave apostate who actually one of the first who contributed and still contributing the enlightenment age in Islam, which we are in it now, I believe.
let's
He's
hope.
yes, he's one of them. There is a lot
Yeah,
of others too. uh, I'm on the phone right now. Oh yeah.
he wants to try through his laptop, but he's on the
It,
phone
it is
right now.
just you just Mo Texas USA. You just click the link and you will come in. You don't need anything if you want. So of course, I still stand there that I say the West failed him, the majority, especially the elite,
Yeah, of
so
course.
call it the leftist. Of course, some gave him prize, and of course, yes, Queen
Yeah,
gave him the title like
yeah,
Sir.
yeah,
But in generally,
yeah.
they didn't take the real actions, like support the book
No.
everywhere. This is the book. What is
Yeah,
wrong with you people? You can write book against him,
uh,
right? If
yeah,
is instead of
yo,
trying to kill him,
yes.
like this thing, like fundamental thing which the West should
We are on Facebook. I
protect.
just wanted to say we
Yeah.
are on Facebook as well.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
I think maybe later, I don't know how to send the links privately to people. Like we can get calls later for some other
yeah,
programs. We can make like open microphone.
yeah,
What do
yeah,
you think
yeah.
about that?
Yeah,
Let's
I
just
think it's
stream.
fine. I think that's
Hi,
he's
Mo
here.
Texas
Or
USA. Do you
Hey,
hear
hello.
us?
How you doing, guys?
Fine, thank you.
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that y'all in Europe are also doing the same thing. What most of us here are doing as well. So
Thank you.
my heartiest congratulations to both of y'all having such a
Thank you.
great stream. And I like your pattern. You guys are slow. You guys are soft. You guys are not agitated. That's how a civilized person should ought to be, don't you think?
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah, of
agree. Thank
course.
you.
Yeah. Are you? Do you have a Muslim background, or you're just an ordinary American interested?
Well, no, actually, I turned, I started really studying Islam right around 9/11. So
Okay.
9/11 happened, and we were a bunch of guys. We used to get together once or twice a week at one of their places, and 9/11 happened, and I was a Muslim just by name
Hmm.
throughout my life. I never had any. In my family, there were no restrictions about whether you want to fast or you don't want to fast, or the only thing that my dad would say would be the two prayers of each of them eats. So Eids we had to go to prayer. He used to get mad. I don't know how for some reason if we didn't go to prayer. But other than that, there were no restrictions. And I've been living here for almost 5 decades now in the United States. So
Yeah.
so 9/11 happened, and those guys were looking at me like funny, like, "Hey, aren't you Muslim?" And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm not the one who flew them planes down into
Yeah.
the towers. So, and one of them said, but you're very founder of your religion. He actually married a 6-year old. And trust
Yeah.
me, I was the
Yeah.
one who was defending Muhammad at that time.
Yeah.
I said, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, this is impossible because I had no
You
prior
didn't know.
knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the stance. That's how, and I would say that's how majority of the Muslims are totally unaware of what's
Yeah.
going on within their own religion. They don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, at that time, I went back and I tried to research, and there were not. First of all, there was not internet wasn't so big at that time. You would search, you would just put who did Muhammad marry at the age of 54, and it would go round and round, round and round, round and round, and there would be boom,
Yes.
no results found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I went to the library and I asked the librarian that I'm looking for a book called Sahih Bukhari, and she's looking
Yeah.
at me funny. She's like, "You got some five heads on your shoulder or what?"
Yeah.
So then I got the books and I started reading them, and my mind totally like I was about to faint what I saw in the text. Again, you have to
Yeah.
look through a critical point of view. So if you don't look at through critical lens, it will never make any sense to anybody. And
Yes.
in Quran is a book that is kind of a riddle book.
Yeah.
Say if it's a day right now here in the United
Yeah.
States,
Yeah.
Quran would say, "Oh, it's not the night." I'm just giving you a small little example. It would not tell you clearly, "Oh, it's a day. It's a bright sunny day out there." So, you have to really go through the Quran and really understand the meaning. And the meaning you would not understand the first or the second time. It may take
Absolutely.
several reviews before you can really get to the bottom of it. So that's my background and that's my journey. And I also want to appreciate both of y'all. Y'all doing a tremendous um, work, bringing all these.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words and in
Thank you.
sharing your story with us. Mo, I want to
Yes.
say
Thank
that
you.
what you told us is the similar experience which I had, and I believe many other Muslims uh, had these experiences. Like uh, I shamed myself out of Islam, and what you did the same. In
Exactly.
one point, you start to learn that what critics says they are these things are not insults, but they are reality. Just
Exactly.
because we are ignorant about Islam means not Islam is peace. When we learn the truth, then anybody with common sense and with little bit humanity inside will say that what the heck, I don't want to be a part of this cult, right?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because so truth have to uh, 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 truth will set them free,
Right.
and truth set myself free, and I share and like you said, the 9/11 attack, like these things I hope will never happen again, but unfortunately I believe Islam is enough alone to destroy itself, but then
Right.
it will take long time. but
Right.
but what we have to do, like you guys and other critics, and with knowledge, with experiences, they have to share their stories. They have to really help Muslims to be
Yeah.
free, to be
Yeah.
free.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and I think it's great. I just wanted to ask you one question. Um, living in the U.S., do you feel that the U.S. and then the average American understands this threat more than Europeans? Because that is kind of my stance. But at the same time, after what happened in the U.S. after the attack against Rushdie, I kind of was very disappointed with the U.S. media and also the judiciary system not prosecuting the attack as terrorism, because I feel that is a huge problem. Uh, you know, fighting against terrorism. What is your opinion about that?
Well, let me start with the following. Um, U.S. and Canada versus Europe, though they are both categorized as the West, but there is a slight difference in the mindset of both group of the people. And the mindset is uh, U.S. wants to be the world leader. U.S. wants to be the papa of the group in a way, and U.S. would be cannot just take a stick or cannot just give a carrot to the favorite people and show stick to the others. That's the global universal American mindset because they want to be the leaders. We want to be the leaders. Now, having said that, they also don't want to antagonize any of the Muslim countries. And what you just said, the judiciary system also has its own burden too. I mean, we all clearly saw it was like just in the broad daylight. Hadi Matar killed or tried to kill Sir Salman Rushdie. There is no if, ands, or buts. It's unrecorded, on camera, in the auditorium, in front of hundreds of people. Still, he is being called alleged.
Alleged, yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean,
It's amazing.
just turn the picture the other way around. Had it been in Iran,
Nazi,
been
yeah.
in Saudi Arabia, this person would be taken from the stage directly to the main street corner of another main street, and his head would be chopped off right then and there.
Yeah.
It burns me down to my core when I see my tax is going to pay for could be maybe a mini penny or a part of a penny. It's going to be used to protect this animal, this
Yeah.
savage who tried to attack to Salman Rushdie. So,
Yeah.
so the judiciary system, the mindset, and overall, people, people in the West generally are happy people. They don't want to be into any kind of this negativity or hatred. The hatred is being
True.
imported from other countries. The negativity is being imported from other countries. And before it was just few, like you said, sir. But now there are mosques in almost every major city of the West, United States, and or Europe. And those mosques spit some serious hatred. Many people cannot see it, they cannot visualize it, they cannot see it coming. The hatred is sugar coated. It's been coated in a sugar. So
Yeah.
Muslims they just swallow the pill like it's nothing but the hatred manifests itself later on, few weeks, few months, few years even. And look at this guy, Hadi Matar, where he got that hatred from.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean
It's
I can go on.
No, you don't need. But it was very nice, and you are the
yeah.
first, our first caller. We got. We have
Yes.
thinking a long time that
Please
open
return.
for
Yeah.
public that we can take call. And thanks for that you did that. Then we will have this more in the
Yes.
future.
You have to
And
return. Yeah.
last, I want to just say, I want to say that again, when like these things happen, if some Muslim attack some blasphemers or non-Muslims, like terrorism, it has been a like tradition for the left wing, especially regressive leftists media, that they have to do their best efforts to don't make Islam bad again.
Yeah.
Like they are trying their best to don't show everything, or come with information. But if otherwise, like one if one racist nicest person attack a mosque, for example, in the it's then we get the all information, who is the person, what he did, what he said. It is racism. So this is the double morale, and this have to change too. We have to be very objective. It's no problem. It can be a Muslim, it can be a non-Muslim. If people doing something crazy, we have to talk. And if they do in the name of some ideology, then we have to talk about this ideology, not only just one crazy guy did something.
Yeah.
And we have to call it like terrorism.
Yeah.
This is terrorism. Yeah.
The new thing is that if you criticize Islam by telling what its theology is about, then the regressive leftists, they say it's not up to you to define Islam. Hey, it's not up to me to define Islam, but that's what they're defining it as. That's what the mainstream theology is being represented as through Islam, no matter if it's Sunni, Shia, the big schools, the big parts of the differences aside, that the mainstream theology is the same. It's it's the literal reading of the text of of the hadith and of the Quran. So why are we kidding ourselves? We can't talk about it. We can define it and we can criticize it, and we should. Of course we should. And it is not Islamophobia. It is not racism, and we shouldn't be afraid of the threats from Islamists either.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mo.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. One last thing before I go.
Yes, sure.
I always say one thing, and that's the message that I want to promote out there. I am not against Muslims. Muslims are my brothers. Muslims are my sisters. Muslims are my fellow workers. Muslims are in many different places. What I'm against is the ideology that they follow. So
Yeah.
It's very easy, very quick. Like she was just saying that they're very quick to label anybody who talks about this ideology as a bigoted, hated, supremacist, whatever. But that's not what it is. What it is the ideology, and the ideology that came not with just Islam only, but many other religions too. Though the other religions are now toothless, but Islam still has its teeth and it's still biting everybody. So once again, none of my work or none of my whatever I talk in the shows is not against Muslims, against a Muslim ideology, Islam.
Yeah.
I totally agree. The same. Like we have
The
Muslim
same, yeah.
families, all the time we have to say these things, and this is even exhausting us to say not all Muslims. We don't mean Muslims. Muslims are human beings, but the ideas is different thing. I totally agree with you, Mo.
Of course, we are always saying that most Muslims, they don't know what the ideology is about, and even a lot of the religion, not even the ideology, not some very mainstream parts of the religion they don't know about because maybe it's just easier not to know about it. But as a human, you have to be interested in what you say you believe in, and that's my call to Muslims. You have to be interested in what Islam is, because you're calling yourself a Muslim. Then you have to understand what Islam is. You have a responsibility calling yourself a Muslim. You have to investigate what is your religion really, and what can what do you want to save? What do you want to get rid of if you want to stay a Muslim? And if you don't want to stay a Muslim, if you can't see yourself within the religion, then you have to, don't call yourself a Muslim. I think this is a very normal, reaction to Muslims who don't want to know anything about their religion, or who do not know anything about their religion.
Well, I'm glad that y'all took me on, and I happen to be the first person coming.
You are first, but
I'm so flattered and so honored too at the same time.
And you are welcome to come back. And
yes, of course.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I was going to ask you, do you have any regular timings that you conduct the
Unfortunately not.
Actually not, but if you subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow on Facebook channel, Facebook page, we some days before we are announcing that.
We are announcing it, yeah.
I've been subscribing y'all for a long time, almost more than a year now. So I'm getting those notifications. Yeah.
Nice to know, and we are so happy about your contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yes. Bye. Thank you. Bye. It was very nice, right?
Yes, he was very nice.
We should continue with this. Hassan is saying very good talk, Mo. Great to hear your story. Yes. It was very good.
Yes.
And
We
and
should
Hassan,
do it more. Yeah.
yeah, we should do more. Okay, but thank you very much, everyone. I think I get
We're
tired
almost
because of my camera. You know, my eyes blurring. I don't know why. So I have to fix this.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
of course, we could talk more about, but we have to support Salman Rushdie in every way we can, and we have to promote actually his book, The Satanic Verses,
Yeah.
because Muslims have to get knowledge about this book, what is all about it. You know, it's a very nice novel, and it is funny too, like tragicomical. You know.
Yeah.
It's yes. So last thing, Bible, freedom to think, mean. What is this?
Utter openly anything of personal belief system, ideology without any psychological or physical against violence against people who practice free speech. Yeah, I think the person is just agreeing with with what we're promoting here on this show.
you know, the last I can say, we are forgetting like maybe more in this little bit. You know, when you look to when you look to the, you know, the scriptures of religions, they are insulting each other, they are insulting non-believers every day, they are insulting us, and even ordering to kill us in their holy books, in mosques, in like. But when we say what is writing in their books, and still we are the problem. These things we can we have to fight, and we have to continue. It's the only solution, like I said. And thank you so much, Jale.
Thank you so much.
And Hassan,
we have to do it soon again. Thank you, Hassan. Everybody,
bye-bye.
Kisses from Denmark. Bye bye.
See you next episode.
Bye bye.